everybody, this is Plastic Commando coming to you today from deep behind enemy lines. Well, the day has arrived. I've got my game table and I cannot be more pleased with how it turned out. As you see, we've got the box top design, which I talked about in the previous video, and really happy how that turned out. That gives a good solid top appearance to the table itself, and of course it's a sturdy table, no doubt about that. And I'll give you an idea on the bottom here. Of course, we've got the carved trestle, and that's all I guess hand and machine carved with tools. That's solid wood. There's no pressed wood whatsoever on this table, and that's exactly what I was looking for. And I tell you about, the only way to ensure that is you've got to have one made to your specifications from a custom furniture shop. And yeah, just very excited, very happy how this table has turned out. It's a solid table, no doubt. So what we've got, of course, here we've got the table, which is 8x4. So that's going to accommodate obviously very large maps. Of course, you know, some of the ones I've got from HBG, and of course, custom map that I've made for Axis Allies WW1, and of course others. So really excited how this turned out, and we of course decided to go with the dark walnut finish. And you'll notice this table, unlike a typical dark walnut, is a little bit lighter, and that's because of the cherry finish the builder had told me about, that using a dark walnut, given that this is more of a yellowish type wood, would actually lessen the darkness, I guess, of the table. And it's turned out great. I mean, you can see the wood grain, and of course the rustic imperfections, as I like to call them, but really enhances the look of the table. And to kind of give you an idea here, you can see, again, you can just see how that wood grain just really stands out. And so couldn't be more pleased with the finish of the table itself, and the choice of the dark walnut on cherry. So at this time, the next step is I had purchased a custom-made glass top, which as of the time of this video is going to be delivered this afternoon. So I'm excited about getting the top put on, the glass top that is, which will basically protect this nice finish we've got here. With gameplay, I mean, it's you know, it's bound to get scratched, and we don't want that at all. So I'm going to put a glass top for that protection, and which also will help protect against drinks, things like that, that'll inevitably be on the table. So all right, guys, cannot wait. We'll continue this video once that tabletop is on, and it'll be time to put down maps. And in essence, it's time to rock and roll. All right, we have got the glass tabletop on, and you can see that nice glare from the table. Of course, the glare itself will not be visible once the maps are down, but I wanted the glass top basically just to, you know, protect the finish of the wood, and it turned out great. I've got the nice little disc underneath that'll keep the table in place, and nothing better than cleaning your tabletop with Windex as opposed to having to get the furniture polish out, and also have to worry about any kind of defects. And of course, you can see the glares there. Show you an old painting I've got. This is, of course, the American Civil War. This is Don Troiani, and that's the last salute to Robert E. Lee. But in any event, well, enough of this tabletop business. Let's get the map out. All right, let's start this video. Got the map on the table, finally able to put it out nice and flat. So without any further delay, today's topic, we're going to be talking about the use of custom infantry, specifically for the neutral or the minor aligned powers. Well, both are minor powers, one of which is either going to be neutral or they're going to be aligned to a major power. And the idea for using custom infantry in this game, of course, as you know, I've been doing a lot of customization for Axis Allies WW1 1914 anyway. But I never particularly liked the idea when playing the out-of-box version of this game that there were never any individual pieces, I guess, for the neutrals or the the minor aligned powers, and instead the players expected to essentially pick and choose which power is going to put their own troops in those territories, and then start playing that faction. If able. Obviously, if it's taken over by the opposing forces, then it's a moot point. But to me, it was never really realistic. For example, if someone, let's just say, is playing the U.S. And let's say Portugal over here gets attacked. Well, in this case, actually France would be aligned with Portugal. But let's say Spain, for example, is attacked by Germany. We'll just hypothetically say this, and then at some point the players in the game are going to have to decide whether which player is going to take over and play for Spain, and then of course put their corresponding pieces into that territory. I just from an aesthetic look to the game, it just never made any sense. I mean, obviously, if Spain had been attacked, for that matter, Belgium up here in the north, as well as Holland. I mean, frankly, when these countries were attacked in the war, Belgium had a standing army, same as Holland did, and these it's just more realistic to have own individual custom infantry representing the pieces in this game. Now, having said that, I still like, part of the rule that, for example, you're still going to have a player that's going to, be in charge, if you will, of the nations that are being attacked or invaded. And of course, if in this case, like with Belgium up here, or excuse me, Bulgaria, once that country, or let's just say Romania, Serbia, those forces are activated, then obviously by nature of the symbols that we've got on the map, then those countries, whichever player, for example, is playing Russia, would, take charge of the forces in Serbia and also in Romania up there. Same with Albania. I mean, if some Albanian forces do survive, then the Italian player will then take charge of those forces and also collect the same amount of income as normal. I'm just this is just a way of improving the game a bit with use of custom infantry, so as not to, one, deplete all of the infantry that you have in your own stock for your own countries, but just add some variety to the game itself, and again, just make it look better from a customization standpoint. So what I'd like to do, let's go ahead and take a look at each one of the customizations, and we'll kind of talk about the miniatures themselves and the process involved in getting these placed onto the game map. But we'll start with Portugal here, since it's closest to us. Now, Portugal, obviously, in this game, it's aligned with France. I think historically speaking, England probably would have been a better alignment choice. But my thoughts is likely the the makers of this game wanted to try to spread it out a bit, since Britain has more of a footprint on this map really than any other country. But nevertheless, doesn't matter, because in use of custom infantry, in this case, we would still have the French player go ahead once Portugal becomes activated, or is invaded. Then the French player would then go ahead and use the Portuguese forces, and again, collect the income that might be incurred by moving those forces into other territories. And what that would represent is getting Portugal into the war, and using Portuguese forces. So what I've done is I've got my own color scheme for each one of the custom infantry, and I've went through the same process of priming and painting, and ultimately weathering with soft tone shade from Army Painter, and then ultimately applying a matte varnish, same as I have in all of my infantry. And most paints in here are the Home Depot brand. I mean, this is an orange. It really turned out pretty good, I think. Now on these infantry, I did use the hat miniatures for the United States. In part, the uniforms, when you look at a lot of the Portuguese uniforms, they got a lot of their equipment from England, in particular the helmets. And so I had frankly had a lot of the American forces left over in the hat box, and used these, which again bear a lot of similarity anyway to the British uniforms at the time. So we've went ahead and painted these up, and these are going to be the Portuguese infantry. And then, of course, as you know from the out of box rules, each force or each power, I should say, has a numerical value associated, and obviously we've got Portugal here with number 2. A 2 IPC value. So when these forces are activated or attacked, you've got to at least have 1 artillery unit, and the remainder is set to be infantry, and that's what we've done here. So double and 2 obviously is 4, so we end up with 3 infantry and 1 artillery. And of course that's going to be true whether it be a neutral or a minor aligned power. So moving on to Spain, what I've used is, again, a lot of excess hat miniatures. These are part of the German Schutztruppe. But interestingly enough, if you look at some of the pictures, in particular of some of the Spanish forces in North Africa, well, I should say more of West Africa, about prior to the war, they actually use a lot of these same helmets, so their uniforms do look very significant, close resemblance, I should say, to some of the forces at the time. But I'm still looking for maybe a few others that I can add to this army to make them a little more variable, as opposed to using some of the same sculpts. And of course here we've got obviously a much larger country. Spain is 4. And we've got a few of the miniatures represented with some chips underneath. Spain's not one you particularly want to mess with because of the large standing army that can be put into battle. So let's move on over here. Here we've got the Empire of Ethiopia, again represented by some of the German Schutztruppe. And then moving over here, we've got Arabia, and these miniatures are Strelets, and these are some that I've had for some time, and I know that Historical Board Gaming is now selling the Strelets, and that's really good, because I like these miniatures a lot. I've bought a significant amount of Strelets over the years, and really like these. They're just really good sculpts. You get a lot of variety in each box, and most of mine I've actually got off a dealer on eBay, which are very reasonable, I think. But I think Historical Board Gaming's got a fairly good price on that as well. So moving on, similar set for Persia. This is more of a purple color, maybe kind of hard to pick up on the camera. And then we've got up here Afghanistan as well. And again, each one of these has their own color scheme. And then moving over here to Romania. Obviously, you probably recognize these forces. These are historical board gaming, early Russian. So we've got an influence here, no doubt. But also, when you do look at some of the uniforms of Romania during this time period, some of the helmets do look very similar. And then moving south, we've got Bulgaria, which I particularly like. I've got a mixture of miniatures here. The ones with the caps are Strelets, and obviously the ones with the helmets are the new sculpts from historical board gaming for the German infantry. And again, if you look at a lot of the photos from Bulgaria, you would see a mixture of the uniforms at that time with caps as well as helmets as well, modeled right after the German infantry. Bulgaria actually got a lot of their equipment directly from Germany and Austria anyway. And then here we've got Greece, and these are represented by some of the Russian infantry that's not used in particular for Russia, different poses. And the Greek army also had a resemblance in caps and style of uniform as well to some of the Russian infantry. Obviously differences, but a close resemblance. And the commander there in the middle, that's actually from I believe it's a World War II Italian infantry set I've got, but I went ahead and threw him in there as an option. And then here we've got Albania, and you might see the two odd figures in there with the caps on. These are actually from an American Civil War set, the Zouaves. And the reason I put these in is, Albania, frankly, didn't have much of anything at that time. But they also had a lot of tribal infantry. And so when you look at some of those uniforms, baggy pants, there was a lot of influences, I guess, from the Balkans and different areas, Greece. But you'll see some uniforms that look, frankly, a little similar to this. And then I've basically cut off the bayonets to try to make them look less Civil War-ish, if you will. But they turned out really great. And then we've got a guy in the middle there. He's one of the Austrian infantry, more of a formal military pose. And then up here we got Serbia, and these are actually Serbian infantry, directly from Strelets, which again I think you can get at historical board gaming as well. And let's see, just moving on over here real quick, we've got Switzerland, represented of course in white, and then we've got Belgium. These are actually Belgian troops that are from Hat. They got a pretty good set. I like these. They paint up really nice, and I've used some of those also for Holland as well. Again, not much differences in some of the uniforms I've seen. And then up here we've got Denmark, which has a mixture of some Polish uniforms. Denmark and Sweden's a little bit hard to represent, but I did put a mixture of different miniatures I've got here. And again, I think they turned out really nice as well. And then up here we've got Norway, which I've got in green, and these turned out great. And of course you'll see Norway and Sweden both. Again, these are larger neutral nations, just like Spain. So you're going to get quite a punch if you attack these nations. So you would have 7 infantry and 1 artillery. And well, that gives an overview. I think you guys have seen my custom infantry before, but I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of my use of custom infantry for the neutrals and the minor aligned nations. And we're going to have more videos coming up soon. Just wanted to give you a brief glimpse of what I've been up to. This is the Plastic Commando, over and out.